So I'm Lee Jowett. I'm a Climate Change and Sustainability Research Fellow here at the Institute of Education at Sheffield Hallam University. Research-informed climate approach is something we've been developing at Hallam, which is looking at different parts of a framework around how children learn about climate change. So at the moment, sustainability and climate change doesn't really sit in the national curriculum. So what we've developed is a framework which allows children to explore different parts of climate change that creates a sense of agency, and where children are perhaps anxious or worried about climate change, that we are helping them to talk through those approaches in a localised way, which is very personalised, and then it helps hopefully makes them create the agency that they take action going forward. One of the key things of the project that we wanted to do was giving children agency around climate change. So often we see one of the real challenges is they see things on the news, they see things happening locally, which it's potentially quite worrying sometimes. So what we wanted to do was create small actions that children could do, but also work as a group. So one of the things we know about eco-anxiety is by working together in groups, children can often alleviate some of that worry. So for example, one of them is making bath bombs, so looking at reducing plastic is something they can practically do, and they also get to make an activity they can take home to parents and talk about climate change in a non-threatening way. So we've just started to evaluate the project, so we're getting some really early sort of feedback from children and from some of the teachers, the leaders doing the project, and what we've seen so far is really positive feedback around practical action that children are taking. They're talking to their parents, they're talking to family. And one of the other really exciting things that we're seeing is that children are starting to embed this in school. So teachers are saying, well, I'm going to use this again next year with year 6, or I'm going to use this activity year 3. And that's what's really positive for us. This is a project that isn't just a one-off, that actually is then going to be embedded in school curriculums going forward over time. So Project in a Box, Think Climate is one of a number of knowledge exchange projects that we've been working on at Hallam. And it gives us a chance to really test some of those approaches. So within this project, we've been looking very much around localised approaches and personalised. So we'll use some of this evidence to be able to then inform people potentially like the Department for Education. So we know at the moment there's a curriculum review going on, and we're really keen to input some of our ideas into the national picture. So the things we're learning at the moment we can share on future projects, but also try and influence some of the policy changes that we know really do need to happen in education around climate change. So for me, having this as a project, as a civic engagement set of tools, I guess, has been really helpful for us within the Institute of Education. So we do a lot of teacher training here, but one of the things that we really want to influence and change is around policy and practice. So whether that's individual schools with their individual curricula, or it's about working with groups of schools to change policy and practice. I think for me that's really important around the civic engagement and the civic agenda, because what I've seen from historically is the work we do here is really valued, and we're seen as a real benefit to work with partners like schools. So for me this makes a real change and a real policy drive movement within the civic agenda.
Hi, my name's Helen. I'm one of the South Yorkshire Children's University project managers, and I also manage Sheffield Children's University alongside Katie. So we started Project in a Box over at Sheffield Children's University, and this was over 12 years ago, and it was in response to feedback from schools who were saying that they were really struggling to have sustainable activities in their school. So they could sometimes afford to pay for an external provider to come in and deliver really cool, exciting, bit different activities that the kids loved, and then the activity went away and it didn't continue, and that it wasn't a sustainable way. So we decided that we needed to support schools in that sense. So the concept of Project in a Box was born from that. So it's, in a sense, everything in a literal box, everything that the staff member would need, all the resources, all the session plans. We support them with training and guidance at the start of the year, so that school staff feel confident as well to deliver these activities. Often they're in a field or an area or a subject matter that they're not that experienced in delivering, particularly primary school. Teachers have to be skilled in everything, masters of every curriculum area, but often there's particular bits that they might not feel confident in delivering themselves, so that training at the beginning and the ongoing support throughout the project is really important. So we've absolutely loved working with Lee and Joelle from Sheffield Hallam University this year. The partnership's been really important to us because, you know, they are the experts in that field, and to have them creating our projects has just been immense. I think the other thing that we've really noticed this year is how children have felt empowered through these activities. You know, the sessions today, nearly every session a child said to me how they're going to take what they've learned and teach other pupils back in school. In fact, some of them are already doing that. You know, they might only be year 2 or year 3, but they're already on the 2nd or the 3rd round of delivering these activities. So I think that pupil empowerment has come through really strongly this year. Yeah, so I think, as you know, in addition to the knowledge and the skills that they've developed through the different sessions, I think they've been really excited about the activities this year. And I think the other thing as well is that they've felt really empowered to take action. And I think a lot of the messages around climate change are, you know, generally quite negative and can be quite depressing, whereas actually what we've done is we've spun that around. So everything we've talked about is from a positive perspective. So it's the small incremental changes that a young child can make, and actually collectively how they can make a difference.
I'm John Kirkby and I'm the Creative Director of the Design Futures Packaging Studio here at Sheffield Hallam University. We had to take, it was a great brief, so we had to take a lot of resource in order to provide the overall end product and find a way of collating all that together and putting it together in a way that was easy to be facilitated by the schools. So it couldn't just be a jumble of bits, it needed to actually be intuitive and across 8 activities. That was quite a challenge, but it was a really good challenge to work on. You've got to make sure that the project is engaging for the kids, obviously, when they interact with them, and a lot of that can be done with the packaging and with the way it's presented and the way it's set up. It needs to flow, it needs to be something that's easy to bring all the component parts together, and so making sure that the end user is considered as you build in the packaging and putting stuff together is really important. Because the theme of the box is sustainability, climate, we wanted to make sure that everything in there was also, every piece of packaging was also sustainable and environmentally friendly. And so you weren't going into detail of what materials were used, making sure it was fully recycled material and recyclable, also not using glues and things like that, you know, wherever we could avoid it. So the structure of the actual packaging is all rollover boxes, things that don't require glue going forward. Just making sure that it not only is environmentally sustainable, it looks environmentally sustainable as well, so it's part of the actual experience. It's a great opportunity to show the power that design can have on sustainability. We live in a world now where lots of products cause lots of problems, and packaging does as well. My field is packaging. A way around that is designing better solutions, making sure that you're there at the beginning and considering sustainability. My design team considers sustainability in everything that we do, and opportunities there to make sure that things are considered before they get out and cause a problem. And to be able to do that in the schools when you know, kids are learning about this sort of thing early on and making them aware is fantastic. Collaboration projects such as this one are my favourites. You know, it's the strength of Sheffield Hallam University to have all the skills that we've got across the university, from education, from design and all the other areas as well, to bring those together and do projects, really create fulfilling projects. Then the opportunity to work with the schools university, it's the first time I've interacted with them and some of the partners who've also supported us. It's just brilliant. As a designer, you can't design in isolation, and the more people that are involved, it make it a better end outcome. And I think the final product is testament to the fact that it was a collaboration with so many different people.